Barak and Sampson and the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, and stopped the mouths of lions.
Okay. All right. So again, he's this whole chapter. He's talking about the faith of faith, and that's what a lot of Hebrews does talk about, is faith and Christian living and things like that. But he starts, the chapter of faith at the dawn of history, and then Abraham and just the patriarchs and Moses and the people of Israel and everything in the faith that they had, and sometimes lack of faith too. We know that they didn't have enough faith to enter the promised land, the Israelite people, but yet they still were credited with faith that when they did finally do it, they went in, did what they were supposed to. Okay, we're going to kind of look at one of them today. Barak. Anybody know about Barak in the Bible? It's not a name that we hear a whole lot about. What you got, Hank? You got something?
No? I'm trying to think. Can't picture old Barak.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So, well, his story is told in Judges 4. So we're going to go over in Judges 4.
What were those verses 6 through 10?
You didn't write them down?
Yeah.
You expect me to remember it now?
Pardon me, let me look it up.
Yeah, it was 6 through 10. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But before you read it, let me set this up. The actual judge at this time is a prophetess named Deborah. So it's actually a woman judge, and she's a prophetess, and so she's the one that's trying to get Israel back to obeying and worshiping the Lord God and turning away from Baal and other idols and things like that. And so, and so we see here what she does to help that along. So go ahead, number 6.
Then she sent and called for Barak, the son of Abinoam, from Kadesh to Naphtali, said to him, has not the Lord God of Israel commanded, go and deploy troops to Mount Tabor, take with you 10,000 men of the sons of Naphtali and the sons of Zebulun, and against you I will deploy Sisera, and the commander of Jabin's army, where his chariots and his multitudes at the river Kishon, and I will deliver him into your hand. And Barak said to her, if you will go with me, then I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go. So she said, I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, there will be no glory for you in the journey you are taking, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hands of a woman. Then Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali and Kadesh and went up with 10,000 men under his command, and Deborah went up with him.
All right. So they're getting ready to go into battle, and if we read the rest of the chapter, which we're not going to do, I'm just going to kind of summarize it for you, that the enemy, the king, that they're fighting against here, which I just lost his name, Jabin. Okay. Yeah. Jabin ends up coming, and they're in battle. He's tired. He's weak. He needs drink. He needs rest. Whatever. And so we see over in 19 of chapter 4 says, then he said to her, please give me a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. So she opened a jug of milk, gave him a drink, and covered him. Then he said to her, stand at the door of the tent, and if any man comes and inquires of you and says, is there any man here, say no. Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a tent peg and a hammer, and took a hammer in her hand and went softly to him and drove the tent peg into his temple, and it went down into the ground, for he was fast asleep and weary, so he died. And then Barak pursued Sisera. Jael came out to meet him and said, come, I will show you the man whom you seek. And when he went into the tent, there lay Sisera. And on that day, God subdued Jabin, king of Canaan, and the presence of the children of Israel, and the hand of the children of Israel grew stronger and stronger against Jabin, king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Jabin, king of Canaan. So, he killed the commander. She killed the commander, is what it is. But Deborah said, because you wanted me to go with you, you will not get the glory for this. And he will be delivered into the hand of a woman. Well, Barak probably thought it meant Deborah was going to kill him. That he'd get him and bring him to Deborah, and Deborah would end up killing him. Sometimes the prophets were instructed to do that. But not so much. It was a totally different person, totally different woman, whatever. And so he didn't get the glory for it. Okay?
Why did they want him killed?
Because they were opposing the Israelites. They were and they were taking him, making him
So Jabin was the king?
he was a king in Canaan, yeah. And they had destroyed, yeah. Jabin was the bad king, yes. And so he did this. But the main thing that we need to see here, okay? So you ask, why is he listed in the Hall of Faith? Because he said, I will only go if you go with me. So why do you think he's listed in there? Okay. He had faith, but he didn't have a lot of faith. But when he was sure of it, then he acted on it. He did what God told him to do. The prophetess told him, Deborah told him, and she was the judge and the prophetess, she told him to go and to do this. And he said, only if you go with me. Okay? And it just shows that part of what this shows is that if we don't do what God is asking us to do, he will find somebody else to do it. But we are called, even though we don't have all the answers, we're called to take even the little bit of faith that we have and go forward with it. Faith of a mustard seed. Still remember the sermon you preached on that several years ago now. You had the kids hand out the little mustard seeds to everybody. You know, I mean, this mustard seed is really, really small. If you have that much faith, you can accomplish so much. He had that amount of faith, but he had to make sure that it was right. Okay? So the fact that he's in the Hall of Faith just shows that he had faith. He had the faith. He had the small amount of faith. And I think what the writer of Hebrews is trying to show is that it doesn't take a great amount of faith to do all these things for God. But your willingness to go do it is a big part of it. And so, all right, he had to be obedient to go do it. So,
So if the woman killed Jabin,
no, she didn't kill Jabin. She
I
killed
mean,
the commander, Sisera.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It is a confusing story. That's why it's probably not talked about a whole lot. It kind of is.
Well, I'm kind of trying to figure, because Barak's the one that went with Sarah, right?
Yes.
Okay. Very dumb question. What did he go to do? If this woman killed him,
Well, no, they were in the battle. They were in the battle. This was the commander of the army that got killed. Once the commander of the army gets killed, pretty much everything falls apart.
right? Okay, I'm with you. I forgot about this.
Right. Yeah. So.
The whole concept.
Right. And he thought when he went to seek refuge and a drink and stuff like that, he thought he was amongst friends. But this woman turned on them and even turned against her husband, because her husband was fighting the battle, and turned against her husband. And, so he thought he was safe in that refuge to get some rest and to get a drink. And she ended up killing him. I don't know that a tent peg to the head is how I want to go out.
I'm just thinking that. And how did she do it?
Well, no, it says she went in softly. I doesn't say she did it softly, but I mean, yeah, once you start driving that in, I mean, it's how deep was he sleeping? How tired was this guy that he's,
You would think that first hit.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. There are nights I sleep pretty good, but I still think that if,
But the other night when I just rolled over and slapped you in the face. It
Yeah.
was-
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but I mean, so, usually when I get kicked or hit in the face or some other thing that, yeah, that usually kind of, so, but yeah, so, but, yeah. The other night I got elbowed in the mouth, so, due to CPAP and everything, so, just like, good grief, so. So anyways, I told her, I said, I'm going to have a fat lip now. So,
Monica tried to warn him, but she told her, even as kids, she was a little sleeper.
yeah. So, but yeah. So like I said, this is kind of a little known story, but it does talk about a victory. But basically, I think the biggest thing we need to take from this is that we don't have to have a ton of faith. But God does call us to be obedient. We need to have enough that when God, here the prophetess, the person that's speaking for God comes and says, hey, I want you to go up into battle and subdue them. Why didn't he just go? Well, yeah, could be. He didn't want defeat. He didn't want, and so, but he did have a little bit of faith.
I wonder too.
Go ahead.
I was wondering too if the reason he was mentioned is because even though he was told to go lead these 10,000 men through this battle, he asked for something extra that would go with him, but he wouldn't be getting the glory. So maybe that he still went, though he wasn't going to get the glory.
Yeah.
And it shows that he was doing it for God's image, not for his own satisfaction.
And that's a valid point too. Yeah, exactly.
And then he,
So-
when you asked him, know why he was in the Hall of Fame, that's kind of what I thought, even though he took a minute and was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. He didn't really question God or whatever. He went, even though he didn't really want to. Well, he didn't want to go by himself, but
Right.
he didn't question God, try to argue with God. He
Right.
said, I need somebody to go with me.
Right. So, exactly. So, why he's just listed as one of the many in the Hall of Faith. And we know pretty much all the other ones that are listed. This is kind of one of those little known ones. It's just basically 1 or 2 chapters of Judges. It talks about and it talks more about Deborah than it does him, actually. So it's, but yeah. So those are some very good, very valid points in that stuff. So, but okay. So the next one is that it talks about in Hebrews 11 is Sampson. Anybody know about Sampson?
Know that one. He has long hair, straight from his hair.
Yep.
He was a little prideful of his hair, and then it got cut by a woman.
Okay.
Get too close.
All right.
And he was tied up at one time in the pillars. He was captured. He was tied up in the pillars. He prayed strongly for God, the Lord, to give him more strength so he can kill his enemies. And
Right.
he got his strength back and he was able to.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Yeah. All right.
Today.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah. Okay. The only thing I'll dispute on that is there's a reason why he was so fussy about his hair. You said prideful. He was prideful about his hair.
As long as his hair was long,
Right.
he would have the strength.
Right. And we're going to see that in Judges 13. I didn't give her this one. So.
I thought I had everybody prepared this morning.
So. All right. So it starts out in verse 1. It says, "Again, the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines for 40 years. Now there was a certain man from Zorah of the family of the Danites, whose name was Morah, and his wife was barren, and she had no children. And the angel of the Lord appeared to the woman and said to her, Indeed, now you are barren and have borne no children, and you shall conceive and bear a son. Now therefore, please be careful not to drink wine or similar drink, and do not eat anything unclean. For behold, you shall conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. So the woman came and told her husband, saying, A man of God came to me. Okay, I'm going to stop there. But basically, yes. Okay? That as a Nazarite, he couldn't have a razor cut his head. Couldn't cut your hair. Even as a man. Couldn't cut your hair. And also couldn't have a drink of wine, fermented drink, or whatever you want to call it. I know that's argued about, that wine wasn't fermented back then. Well, yeah, it was, because, yeah, it said at the wedding banquet that people get drunk. So, it's, I don't understand why they say it's, but yeah, so those are the two things that he could not do. He could not, and stuff. And Samson kept that vow. He was taught, and he had the faith to keep that vow up until Delilah wore him out, deceived him, however you want to talk about it, that, nagged him to death. So to the point that he gave the secret. And he did a lot of damage against the Philistines. He really did. He ripped the gates down they tried to capture him one night when he was in visiting a woman. We'll just leave it at that. He was in visiting a woman, and they tried to capture him. They closed the city gates on him. Said, "Oh, we've got him. He can't get away." Well, he just ripped the gates down, took the gate down, and walked away with it. Okay, he went out and killed a donkey, killed that jawbone. With that jawbone of that donkey, he went and got all kinds of, killed tons, a whole bunch of people to pay off a bet, because he had to pay off a bet about clothing. I mean, he was not your straight up good upstanding city. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, he had a wild side. So yeah, so but and stuff, and he had an issue with, because he wanted to marry a Philistine woman, and then he did marry her, but then that's what happened there, but then he was defeating the Philistines, and so they took his wife away from him and gave her to somebody else. The father did, and all that stuff, and so so he got mad and got torches and captured, I want to say, 1,000 foxes, and tied the foxes' tails together 2 at a time, and with the torch, and sent them through the fields and burned up everything. And oh yeah, his story is pretty incredible. So and so if you want some reading material this week, chapters 14.
Total miracle, huh? How in the world do you capture 1,000 foxes?
Yeah, exactly.
They stand there and they tie their tails together.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. So he had great strength. Okay, but the point, but he kept that vow, and it really wasn't even a vow that he made. It was the angel of the Lord came to his mother and told his mother, "You need to make sure." Do we always do everything our parents tell us? What happens when we become teenagers or young adults or whatever? Don't we get to the point that
Turn into Sampson.
right? I mean, don't we get to the point where we're like, nah, that sounds kind of crazy to me. I'm just gonna do what I want, and my way's better. Exactly. He didn't do that. Now, he did a lot of things that greatly upset his parents, but he was also being used by God to, they didn't want him to marry a Philistine woman in the first place. They begged him to pick a Hebrew woman, and he said, "No, I want her." So he, I think it's kind of safe to say that he had a problem with the women too. And then Delilah, of course, deceives him. Well, not really deceives him. Her intentions were pretty clear. Just how arrogant do you have to be that she's asked you 3 times, what's the source of your strength? And he lies to her 3 times and tells her these 3 different things. And every time she does it to him, and the Philistines come and attack him, and he bursts out of it and whatever. I guess he was amused by it. It was technically a way that he was defeating the Philistines. So he was, he was serving God's purpose. But he kept that vow that he didn't even make all the way till the end. And then Delilah, he does end up telling Delilah, and she shaves his head, and he loses his strength, and the Philistines capture him, and they torture him, and they make him grind in the mill, and everything after they poke his eyes out, so he can't see.
His hair grows back and gets his strength back.
It gets some of it back, yeah. But he prays to God. Some of his strength starts to come back, but he prays to God. He's standing there. They brought him out to amuse the king, to amuse the people. Oh, look, the great Sampson. We have captured him, and he's useless now. We've taken his strength and taken his eyes, and he's our slave now. And he prays for God to give him the strength to lean against the pillars. And he gets the servant boy to prop him up against 2 pillars that hold the whole thing up. And he brings down the whole building on him and everybody else. So he sacrifices his life for the defeat of the Philistines. And so we see the faith of him following that until a woman leads him astray. I gotta be careful, we're outnumbered in here.
We have a long way to the door.
Yep. Yeah, James is the only smart one. So,
He's looking at me like, I know you want to say something.
but yeah. So we see, again, these are, a couple of examples or not. I don't think that they're great examples. I think, there's a lot of people in the Bible that you can point to that maybe are a little better examples, but I think it does show us some things, First of all, that you don't need a lot of faith to do what God's calling you to do. You just need a little bit. If God's calling you to do it, then God's gonna do it. And yes, I agree with you, Kylie, that Barak was right in not wanting the glory for himself, if that was kind of part of his intention, So, and it could very well have been.
Well, it too shows that God doesn't, as we all know, we're not perfect, but he doesn't try to seek out the perfect person. I mean, he takes
Right.
Sampson, the bad boy, he takes Barak. Maybe he was a little timid, or some people do better in agreeing with another person than by themselves. No matter how you are or what you've done,
Right.
God can still use you as long as you have that little bit of faith.
Exactly. So, all right, we get that little bit of faith, and we can accomplish many things for God. So, as long as we're following him. So, okay. And then Samson, the story of him, that he followed those vows all the way through his life. And so,
We say he had a little bit of faith, but he had to have a lot of faith in one way, that, for his mom to say, hey, Angel told me this before you ever conceived. You can never cut your, you know what I mean?
yeah.
To be told that's what she was told, like you say,
Yeah.
that. Which him being a boy, a man, whatever, as his hair grew longer and he got stronger, of course he's not, he's like, oh, what else can I do? But
Yeah. And he was a judge over the people for, the Philistines were oppressing them and were trying to take them over and all this other stuff during this time, and he does defeat the Philistines, but he also was one of their judges. He also kind of ruled over the Israelites, and so he wanted them to follow God, because that's what the judges were. That's what they did. They came in and he just kind of did it in a unique kind of way. So I think he caused a lot of destruction and everything, and poor foxes. So, yeah. So I want to say it was 1,000. I don't remember the exact number, but yeah. So, but like I say, if you want some good reading material this week, Judges starts in 13 with his birth, and it goes to 17. Yeah, it goes through 16, and then so he dies at the end of 16. So.
And I have a woman's study Bible, and I got a whole little section about Delilah, the teasing temptress.
There you go. Right. So that to me, with Samson's story, I'm just like, okay, really, why? She's done this to you 3 times. Why are you still falling for this trap? I mean, really,
Well,
how good looking is she? I
Yeah,
mean,
and knowing, like you say, that she's done, so he knows that's what she's trying to get at, so
Mhm.
she
And
can take it away from her.
truth.
And to tell
Yeah.
the truth, that's what I'm getting at.
yeah,
He knows what she's gonna do with the truth, and, yeah,
Right. so, but
But I was just saying, I've never had that power over a man.
so, yep. So, okay. Did you turn it off?